regarding this. Elmer, say some words, please.
Thank you, Dr. Rose. I better get over here. As Dr. Rose said, we are loose. To all the medical people, professional people here at Johnson Willis and Thomas Johns, we want to say thank you, and I am indeed indebted and grateful to the medical people, along with Dr. Rose, who's my surgeon. I often refer to him as my earthly angel, because when I was diagnosed back in December of '05, outside of family, Dr. Rose was the first to give me encouraging words that I had a chance to survive this. And one of the first things he said to me that stuck in my mind was that he referred to his talent as God-given. And that stuck with me and impressed me then, it impresses me now. I see Dr. Rose every 6 months or so, and that's one appointment I look forward to. That's scheduling 6 months apart, and I go in and see Meredith, and it's normally we do it in March, and then 6 months later in September, and I look forward to those appointments. I was diagnosed in December of '05, and I want to say that if it had not been for people like Dr. Rose, I would not be here. My first symptoms were a pain on my left side, just a ordinary pain, nothing excruciating. It was just there. And then I had a bloating feeling that was there, and that was something I had never experienced before. And I want to say that sometimes when people say they have no symptoms, I'm going to disagree with that slightly, because I think your body always lets you know when something is different. And if you feel something that you've never felt before, by all means, get it checked out. That bloating feeling and that pain I had never felt before. And I was telling my brothers about it, and they said, well, you need to go and get this checked out. And so I did, and my oldest brother, Emmett, is on my right over there, accompanied me to patient first. And at that time, Dr. Scott Greenfield and Alva Somerville were running or in charge of patient first. And I had x-rays. They could have easily sent me home and gave me a prescription and said, well, come back and see us in a couple of 3 months, because x-rays didn't show anything. But I feel this was divine intervention, and my steps were ordered. Their steps were ordered. They sent me to Chippenham Emergency. And I said, what is this? I'm not that sick. But they insisted that I go to Chippenham Emergency. And this was on a Friday night, and stayed there until wee hours Saturday morning, 4:30, 5 o'clock. And I told my brother, I said, I'm ready to leave, to get out of here. They haven't told me anything yet. And we did the CT, the MRI. The last thing they did was an ultrasound, and the ultrasound is what found this cancer. And if my memory serves me correctly, this was on December 17th. They moved so fast. I saw Dr. Alfred Lee. I think Dr. Alfred Lee contacted Dr. Rose. I had surgery was scheduled in a little more than 2 weeks. From December 17th, I had surgery on January 4th. Dr. Rose performed the surgery. I had the chemo, the radiation following the surgery, and did well up until October of '09. The cancer came back in my lungs. And at that time, we had biopsies done, and the biopsy determined, the cancer was back. It was metastasized. And the survival rate was it was stage 4. And the prognosis was that I could not survive that. So they gave me approximately 6 months to live and to get my affairs in order. And I'm coming up on 3 years beyond that. And give some of that praise to Almighty God.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when I tell this story, I tear up. So, forgive me, I'll be okay in a minute or so, but I do. And the chemo I'm on and Gemzar is what, that's a godsend, because I didn't tolerate that first chemo well at all. I lost weight, I was sick, was nauseous. But this Gemzar is completely different. And in fact, I had chemo today. So I'm 3 weeks on, 1 week off. And my oncologist is Dr. Gonzalez, and along with Dr. Rose and Dr. Eichler, who gave me the radiation. I'm truly grateful, truly thankful. And I looked at Dr. Rose, and they had a fundraiser a couple of months ago. It was like this water thing. Meredith knows what I'm talking about. I said, y'all got to be kidding me. Y'all done dumped Dr. Rose? And they did, and he was terrific about it. He was a good sport. And I think of all the participants, he raised more money than anyone else. And if you'll just indulge me, and I'm going to just tell you a few words about the PanCam organization that we're involved with. It's the National Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Group. And like Dr. Rose said, during October, you see pink everywhere. Football players, hockey players, and breast cancer is a dreaded disease along with pancreatic cancer. But breast cancer gets all or the majority of the funding. Of the money that's raised nationally, only 2% of it is appropriated for pancreatic cancer. And those are some of the things that we would like to change. Right now there are 2 bills before Congress, one before the Senate and the other before the House, to not take anything away from the funding that we presently have. But if all means possible, we would like to increase awareness and increase funding for pancreatic cancer, because if you don't detect this disease early, you don't stand a chance. This is one disease you cannot mess around with. You got to humble yourself, like Dr. Rose said. You cannot think that you're the baddest thing that God ever made and you can beat it by yourself. You can't do it. You got to have prayer first of all. You got to have the right people praying for you. You can't let just anybody pray. then you've got to have the right attitude. Patrick Swayze, God bless his soul, I remember how defiant he was about how he would beat the disease. And some of you might have seen the clip or might remember the interview. He was smoking a cigarette, saying what he was going to do. No, you cannot do that. You've got to humble yourself. You've got to pray to God Almighty. You've got to have the right people praying for you. You've got to follow your doctor's instructions and do what they tell you, and take your treatments and be diligent about it. And when it's caught early enough, they can perform surgery. And Dr. Rose performed a distal on me. Am I right, Dr. Rose? Distal. And which is a little less complicated than the whooping. But I'm going to leave that all up to Dr. I can't even hardly pronounce some of these things. But if you would, first chance you get when you get home, Google PanCam or the Pancreatic Action Network. And just become familiar with the website. If you can, contribute something so we can have funding for research to catch this disease in the early stages. And our Richmond affiliate coordinator, Ms. Cheryl Taylor, is in the back. She can tell you more about the numbers than I can. But we just absolutely need more funding for pancreatic cancer. And November is almost, this is the end of November, when November was Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month. We did proclamations in some of the surrounding counties, the city of Richmond, and we did create more awareness. We went to some churches, but we need to get as much exposure as we possibly can. So just keep that in mind and contribute if you can. Talk about it, spread the word, spread the information, and let's see if we can increase funding and get these bills passed before Congress where they will not cut funding for pancreatic cancer. And that's just about all I have to say. And I thank you for your time and attention.